been landlording for 9 years in slow markets and hot markets and everything in between. And here's what I've learned. Slow markets don't matter when you don't have any vacancy. My tenants stay on average 4 to 7 years. And that means I'm rarely scrambling to fill a unit. And it's not luck. It's strategy. So today I'm gonna show you how I keep great tenants year after year, so you can do the same and keep your cash flow steady no matter what's happening out there in the real estate market. Let's get into it. First, buy in the right location. Vacancy prevention starts before you buy the property. If you buy in a market that nobody wants to buy in, you've already lost. A bad location is a vacancy magnet. You can have the prettiest property in the world and the lowest rent and still struggle to keep people in there if it's in a bad location and nobody wants to live there. I focus on areas with strong demand drivers. Things like major employers, good schools, low crime, near universities and hospitals and shopping centers. I want my properties next to all the cool fun stuff that everybody wants to live by. I focus on A and B class neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods where a majority of the people who live there are owners. If you don't know how to classify neighborhoods yet using an A, B, C, D scale, you'll definitely need to watch my video called A, B, C, D Classes Explained. I will walk you through all the difference so you know what areas to avoid and you know where I'm gonna put that link. And I know I said it a second ago, but we really need to harp on what makes an area desirable. Besides the universities and the shopping centers and all that, you really want to focus on neighborhoods that have low crime and good schools. And I'm not talking about just what a single crime map has to say. I literally drive the neighborhood at different times of the day. If I wouldn't walk there at night, I'm not buying there. Another reason why my properties stay rented all the time is because I price it right from day one. I don't let it sit vacant for months hoping to get that extra 25 or 50 bucks a month. The fastest way to keep a property vacant is by overpricing it and doing what all those tenants say, being that greedy landlord. And unfortunately, I see landlords doing this all the time. They base their rent off what they want. Not what the market provides. When I set my rent, I don't just willy-nilly pick a number out of thin air. I check the comparables, the comps, what is currently renting. I'll look at Zillow. I'll drive the neighborhood and see for rent signs that aren't listed, and I will call and ask them details about the property and ask what are they charging for rent. I put myself in the shoes of the potential tenant. If I wouldn't rent my own property, why should I expect them to? If you want a pro tip, price your property slightly below market rent. That way, you'll attract the cream of the crop tenants. You want to have your inbox overflowing with overly qualified applications. You want the tenants that pay rent on time, keep your place nice and clean, and call you when there's a problem. In a slow market, when you have your property up for rent, speed in getting it rented is more important than trying to squeeze out that extra 50 bucks a month. That extra 50 bucks a month might sound good on social media, and it might look good on paper once you get it rented. But if it costs you a month of vacancy to get that extra 50 bucks a month, you've lost more than 50 bucks. You've lost an entire month's worth of rent. If that was a $1,500 a month rent you lost, how many $50 does it take for you to break even on that $1,500? Do the math and you will quickly see that pricing your property slightly below market rent and getting it rented like that will keep you more cash flow in the long run. Another way I keep my properties rented is I make it a yes on the very first visit. Most tenants decide within the first minute that they walk in the house whether they're interested in renting your property or not. If they walk into a dark, outdated property that's dusty and gross and smells like cat pee and you say, "Oh, I'm gonna clean it all up," it's a no for them right away. There are plenty of more fish in the sea and plenty more properties where the property owners have thoughtfully updated their property and have done a very nice job presenting it to them. If you're showing a property that is not 110% show ready, it will be a no from the prospective tenant. Potential tenants are not investors, okay? They cannot see past the renovation and into what it's going to be in the future. They don't have that type of vision. They just see what they see. And they also see a lot of slumlords who leave their properties in shambles and say, "I'm gonna fix this," and they never do. Another thing that I do to keep it a yes on the first visit when the tenants walk in is I make the property beautiful. I keep it spotless. Not just that I vacuumed and lit a candle in the kitchen to mask the cat pee smell, but I actually clean the property. When I look in people's houses, I look behind the toilet, and if the little braided line is full of fuzz, it's just a turnoff. So deep clean your property, clean your blinds, clean your windowsills. Personally, I love it when a property smells like bleach, not a vanilla candle. Any burnt out light bulbs must get replaced. When you do the showing, show up in advance. Turn all the lights on, all the lights on. Turn on the ceiling fans, turn the air conditioner on and make it feel cool if it's hot in the summertime. If it's cold and it's winter, turn the heat up. Make the property feel comfortable. Open the blinds. Let all the natural light shine in. Another tip, invest in curb appeal. I know it's not your job to plant flowers as the owner, but planting flowers in the front, putting mulch down, trimming the bushes, making everything look nice and inviting is going to get tenants to say, how beautiful, I want to rent this place. You want prospective tenants to ask you for the application or how they can apply before they walk out the door. Another way that I keep my properties rented, even in slow markets, is by being flexible. In a hot market where there's zillions of applications, you can afford to be more picky. But in a slow market, having some flexibility will increase your vacancy. That does not mean lower your standards. That does not mean lower your criteria. Remember, keeping that amazing A-plus tenant is top priority for you as an investor to keep money in your pocket. The quickest way to lose money on an investment property is to put in a bad tenant. What do I harp on 100% of the time? I'm always saying this. If you know, put the answer in the comments below. And the answer is no tenant is better than a bad tenant. In a slow market, you want to remove the friction for your potential good tenants. If I don't normally allow pets, I might allow pets for this property to be flexible and charge pet rent. Or if I have a great tenant, but I know that they're going to be moving to Texas soon to transfer to the military, whereas I might not usually accept a tenant who has a shorter time frame, I may be more flexible with the potential good tenant and offer them that shorter lease. Also, offering half off second month's rent is another good way to attract applicants. It is okay to offer a deal in the struggling market. It doesn't mean you bought a bad property. It doesn't mean you're a terrible landlord. It doesn't mean you're not a good investor. Small little concessions like these, like even offering pets, maybe saying no pet rent. That might be the difference between a potential good A-plus quality tenant picking your property and filling your vacancy or not, and your property sitting vacant another month. One of my favorite ways for keeping my properties rented, even in slow markets, is by treating my tenants like they're gold and retaining tenants so they do not want to move out. Remember, tenants are your number one team member. Tenants are the people that take care of your asset the entire time that you own it. It's not your property manager. It's not your CPA. It's not any of your core 4 team members that goes on your investing team or your realtor, right? It is the person who lives in your property and takes care of it 99.99999% of the time. It's your tenant. So if you have a good tenant, you want to do everything you can to keep them because they are protecting your asset. Every year, I do my best to try and renew the leases early. I'll talk to tenants at least 60 days before their lease is up for renewal and ask them if they're interested in renewing. If I ask them too close to the end date, they might already be looking for other places to move to. And I don't want them to even have to think about, oh, my lease is coming to an end. I better start looking at other options. I want to be the one to bring it up so they're not looking for other options and I can get them to sign on the line and renew for another year or two. I also don't always increase their rent. I would rather keep a tenant for another year than risk losing them for a measly $25 a month rental increase. My opinion, wait until the rental increase could be a little more significant than 25 or 50 bucks. It works much better this way. In my opinion, you give them a deal for a few years and they return the favor and sign with you at a higher price. For my A-plus tenants, I want to keep rent increases minimal. Remember, tenants are there to keep your asset nice for you while appreciation does its thing. So if you have an A-plus tenant who is taking care of your property, who is keeping it clean, notifying you of any big issues so you can fix them right away, paying their rent on time, what more could you ask for? You're gambling when you want to charge them every single year for more rent. You're gambling on them leaving and you getting a less qualified tenant. If you got an A-plus tenant now, what are you doing charging an extra $25 a month? Leave it alone. Because don't forget, 1 month of vacancy isn't just a month of rent gone. Now that people have moved out, you're going to have to do repairs. You're going to have to do touch-ups. You may have to do upgrades. You're going to have to paint or touch up paint. You may have to replace carpet or flooring. You may have to fix this broken XYZ. And it's not just a month of mortgage payment or rent you're losing, right? You're also having to put money into the property for these repairs and upgrades. I also keep my properties rented by being an awesome landlord. I handle repairs quickly. As soon as a tenant tells me their AC doesn't work, I'm on it within minutes. And a lot of times I can get a guy out there same day, if not in the next hour or two. Response times like that and acting quick and fixing tenants' problems is a surefire way to get them to stay, especially if they've been tenants before with major property management companies that take weeks and weeks to get problems solved. When tenants feel like they're getting taken care of, they are less likely to leave, even when there are cheaper options out there. If you want more ideas on tenant retention, then you're definitely gonna wanna check out my video, Landlording 101, that guide to getting top rents and zero vacancy. The next way that I keep my properties rented, even during slow times, is by marketing it like a pro. You can't just throw your listing on a site and then call it a day, hope for calls. I post on Zillow, apartments.com, I put it on local Facebook groups, and my listings always have as many quality photos as I can get. That means taking pictures of your property in the daylight with good lighting, not when it's cloudy and has been raining. Don't leave debris in the yard, broken branches on the driveway and take photos. Don't have cars in the driveway. Don't leave the toilet seats up so you can see in the toilet. Take quality photos. If you aren't capable of taking quality photos, spend the $200 to $300 and have somebody do it. You will always need to put your photos in an editing program like Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop to touch them up, get them skewed the right way. You want your photos to be perfect as they can. You don't want to over-represent or oversell the property, but you want great photos because photos are going to be what makes the potential tenant want to even call to see your property. If your photos suck, they're not even going to call for a showing. Also, my listings, I put a bullet point list of all the strong features. I know my market. I know what tenants want in that area, and I'm going to make sure that they know about it in the listing. If it has a separate laundry room, I put it. If it has a gas stove, I put it. Why? Because those things aren't always found in all the properties, and I want them to know that my property has these features that they're likely looking for. Another thing I do is when I do have a vacant listing, I make my properties easy to show. I get people in as fast as they want to get let in, but here's the caveat, in-person showings only. I'm not a fan of self-showings. And before I do waste my time driving over there to do a showing, I'm doing a tenant screening call first because I'm not going to waste my time driving down there if the tenant doesn't even make 3 times the rent, or if the tenant has an eviction on their record, or the tenant is in bankruptcy. If I can find those things out in advance, I can prevent myself from having to get in my car and take time away from my businesses and my family to go do a showing. So pre-screening call always includes the hard questions. They pass the call, I'll drive my butt over there and do a showing. There are a lot of benefits to doing in-person showing. One of my favorite benefits of in-person showings are that you actually get to see and talk to the people face to face. You can catch them in potential lies. For example, the last time I was showing a property, it was a mom and a little daughter, and I asked, "Do you have any pets?" And the mom said, "No, we don't have any pets." And the little girl looked up at her and said, "Mom, what about the dog?" So, in person really is best. My properties stay rented. I don't have long vacancies. I have tenants that care about my property and call me when there's repairs needed. And yes, I want to know when there's a problem so I can fix it before their problem turns into a more expensive problem. Some people say they don't want to hear from their tenants. They don't want them to call. Well, I do, because you know why tenants sometimes won't call? They don't want the landlord to know about the cousin who moved in. They don't want to know that they've been smoking cigarettes or weed in the property. They don't want to know about the 2 dogs that they have. They don't want to know about the hole in the wall that was caused by a domestic violence dispute. When tenants call you and tell you things are wrong, it's amazing, and you can fix them right away. And the difference between tenants that call for things and tenants that don't call for things all boils down to the CAKE method. CAKE stands for choose a quality neighborhood, add value, keep the property, and earn steady cash flow and appreciation. When you buy the right kind of property from the start, keeping it rented is so much easier, even in a slow market. I built my portfolio on the cake method, and it's been one of the major reasons why I've been able to keep my properties rented year after year. Vacancy will eat at the profits of your rental property business so fast if you don't know what you're doing. And if you follow these steps I've told you today, and you follow the cake method and buy properties that fit that style, you'll be miles ahead of the average investor. If you want me to walk you through the cake method and what that is step by step, I've done it. There's a masterclass for free down in the description box below. If you've learned something today, if you've enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Do all the things. Like the video, send me a comment below, say hi, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can get updates on when I make more awesome videos like this on how to be successful with long-term rental properties. And until next time, keep building your wealth brick by brick.